B.O.S.S. Radio Network.
Thanks for joining us. We are Deplorable Rhetoric on WSTBR. Join us every Tuesday at 10 a.m. You can also reach us on Facebook at Deplorable Rhetoric, on Instagram, Deplorable_Rhetoric, and on Twitter, we rant the number 2 rate.
Good morning, and welcome to She's the Boss Radio Network, 24 hours, 7 days a week, focused on topics to build, strengthen, inspire, as well as motivate men, women, and youth from the home to the conference room and around our community. I am Sigourney.
I'm Moran.
That's a better one than Moran. Oh, okay. We are Deplorable Rhetoric. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to be part of the show, you can call in 443-272-5922. International charges do apply. You can go to www.shesthebossradio.com, or you can listen in on tunein.com or Shoutcast. You can tell Alexa or Siri to play She's the Boss Radio, and make sure to follow She's the Boss Radio on Facebook, She's the Boss Radio on Twitter, WSTBRN on IG, and WSTBR on Twitch and Tumblr. Okay, so we are going to start something I saw a while ago but never got the chance to get to. But Moran shared it, so let's go ahead and just talk about it. It is COVID. It is COVID related. So China faces a new COVID wave that could peak at 65 million cases a week. So yeah, they were saying the same thing like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I guess nothing has changed there. The country once had, and this is from, I was going to say ABC, it's NBC News. Mm-hmm. The country once had some of the harshest COVID restrictions on the planet, but the response from the government and the public is relatively muted at this point. So China's bracing for a new wave of COVID infections that could see as many as 65 million cases per week by the time the surge peaks at the end of June. It's a startling prediction in a country where the pandemic originated in late 2019. Only months ago had enforced some of the harshest COVID control protocols on the planet. And I remember that a little bit because I didn't dive into it. But yeah, people were getting mad. They were writing. They're like, okay, we're done. But unfortunately, China just keeps getting hit with wave after wave. So I understand. And I understand the restrictions and stuff, but I also understand not wanting to abide by those restrictions. Now with the latest Omicron variant, XBB, fueling a resurgence in cases, the response from China's government and the public is muted at best. The surge comes about 6 months after the country dismantled its sprawling infrastructure for dealing with COVID, including harsh lockdowns, mass testing, stifling quarantines, and strict mask requirements. People feel differently about this wave, said, He Zhang, 30, who works at a finance company in the northern city of Tianjin. The last time everyone was terrified, but now they don't think it's a big deal. And I think part of that too, again, is that as these variants come out, they're less and less strong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not as lethal or whatever as the previous one. Here's one. As the previous one. So, at this point, they're all looking like cold symptoms. The symptoms for COVID are looking like cold symptoms, and people are like, well, whatever. So the new wave's data was revealed by respiratory disease specialist Zhong Nanshan at a medical conference this week in the southern city of Guangzhou. Yeah.
Oh, girl.
Sure.
You got it.
According to state media, he told the audience that the wave that started in late April was anticipated. I mean, which is true. We have winter coming. We can anticipate that there's going to be a peak there certain times, certain events, July 4th, things like that. And that his modeling suggested China could be approaching 40 million infections per week. By the end of June, he said the weekly number of infections will peak at 65 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of people, but just remember, China has like 100 trillion people, so there's a lot. The United States, by comparison, was reporting more than 5 million cases a week. So again, just think about that. We have 330 million people. They have like 8 billion. So It's not 8 billion. That's the total world, but you know they make up like half that.
That's scary.
And then India is like a quarter. Anyway, so like the U.S., China stopped providing weekly case updates this month, making it difficult to know the true extent of the current outbreak. Even the United States is over it.
Yeah.
The State Department said the U.S., which imposed a testing requirement on travelers from China in January before lifting it in March, was discussing China's second COVID wave with allies and partners, but declined to say whether travel restrictions were under consideration. Spokesperson Matt Miller said the department would monitor the situation in conjunction with the CDC before updating travel guidelines. We don't want to see people anywhere obviously suffering from COVID-19, Miller said Wednesday. The U.S. government remains committed to working with China on, quote, transnational challenges, including on global health matters and maintaining open lines of communication, he added.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's still, like currently, outside of COVID issues, there's a lot of countries that have restricted their citizens from traveling to the U.S. And of course, the U.S. has done the same. But their reasoning for restricting their citizens from coming to America is because of the shootings, the mass shootings that happen here on a regular basis.
yeah. That's true. I was trying to see if there's any. Okay, no. So, various versions of the Omicron subvariants, including XBB.1.5, XBB.1.16, also known as Arcturus, and XB.1.9.1, have been circulating in the U.S. since December and make up nearly all of the current infections in the country. Although the CDC isn't regularly tracking new cases and the majority of the new infections are likely going uncounted, hospitalizations and deaths are continuing to decline in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, at least they recognize that they can't account for everything, but still in general they're going down. So even for ones that are unaccounted for, I would still think that the trend would be going down, but who really knows? Could be stagnant, honestly. Experts suggest the U.S. already has a strong level of immunity against the highly transmissible form of the virus. During China's first Omicron wave in December and January, a different Omicron variant was affecting millions of people every day, overwhelming hospitals and crematories in cities across the country. Store shelves were emptied of fever medications and schools were shut down. Yes, I remember that here as well. About 80% of China's 1.4 billion. I was only off by 6.6, whatever. 1.4 billion people were infected during that wave. Wu Zhongyu, chief epidemiologist at the Chinese Center for I'm going to say CDC, but it's DCP, Disease Control and Prevention, said in January, but immunity may have waned in the months since, raising the risk of reinfection. Zhong said at the medical conference that the government had given preliminary, the first time, approval, I'm on a roll today, approval to 2 vaccines aimed at the XBB subvariants, and that others could be approved soon. So though China's current wave will not equal the tsunami of cases it experienced in December and January, older people and those with underlying diseases are still relatively undervaccinated and are at a high risk for developing severe disease, said Jin Dongyang, a virologist. There he goes, I messed up. The University of Hong Kong, a virologist, whatever. But the number is smaller, and so the good thing is that the hospitals then can take care of them in a better way, he said. Yeah, so Joey Wang, 24, student in Hebei province, said many people were finding COVID symptoms less severe this time around, but public fears also seem to have eased by the change in government messaging. All right, there we go. No more media coming out trying to terrify the public. No more fight. And China probably needed a little terrifying because it was just so much there, no more fight the pandemic type of short videos to alert people, and no more hardcore measures like the lockdown. Yeah, even China's like, screw it. Y'all want to get sick, get sick. The Chinese government's subdued response comes as It is trying to revive the economy and reassure U.S. and other foreign businesses, which would react negatively to the return of restrictions. COVID zero enforcement was very interruptive to business, and Michael Hart, because that's all that matters, president of the American Chamber of Commerce in China. And so we said again and again to the Chinese government, what companies need is stability, clarity, so they can plan. Zhang, the finance employee, said colleagues who recently tested positive were choosing to come to work anyway. Awesome. Contrasting it with the first wave when everybody spent long periods working from home. When I look back to such strict COVID measures, it feels like a dream, she said. It makes me doubt if all those strict lockdowns were right if we ended up here anyway. And on that wonderful positive note, we have to go to a break. We'll be right back.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
Hey, I'm Jenny James for Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner. You've probably been home a lot more. Maybe you have kids like me who spill all the time, and you've noticed that your carpet's not looking so good. Why don't you call Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner? They use a dry extraction service, so you won't have wet carpet all day long, and you can get back to doing the things you love with your family immediately. And it's a way to make your room healthier while improving your indoor air quality. You can do tile, slate, granite, ceramic, area rugs, and yes, they're pet friendly too. Why don't you get a free, no obligation estimate today? NeatlyDoneSanAntonio.com.
Yeah, that's the sound of today's business community. It's a dog-eat-dog world and only the strong survive. The challenge is navigating the ever-changing business environment to put your business in the forefront. So how does your business keep up with the changes? That's where She's the Boss Network comes in. She's the Boss Network is an internet media network that's been helping businesses like yours get the exposure that you're looking for at reasonable cost by way of radio and video. They'll help you stay successful by navigating change and seeing the big picture. After She's the Boss Network analyzes your business and marketing strategies, you'll start to see a media presence like you've never seen in your business before. And She's the Boss Network doesn't stop there. They use their findings to create a practical plan of action, a plan that will get your business from where you are to where you need to be. There you go. Lock those dogs up for good by giving She's the Boss Network a call at 866-494-5945, extension 101, or by checking their website at she'sthebossradio.com. Again, that's 866-494-5945, extension 101, or she'sthebossradio.com.
You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? She's the boss. Radio Network.
All right, y'all. There was one other article, I'm not going to go into it, but it talks about the mRNA vaccine, which I believe is like the one we took, Pfizer. So this is from Newsbreak, which is an app that showed up on my phone when I bought it. So it gives me a bunch of depressing news every single day of my life. But this is an original piece from Newsbreak, and it says mRNA vaccine caused multiple sclerosis in case report, putting things in perspective. So I do suggest that people look into that, especially if, you know, they think they may have it, or if it runs in the family or something, and you've had an mRNA vaccine. Because it does say that, it says that multiple sclerosis is rarely fatal, it's incurable, and inflicts debilitating symptoms of fatigue, vision loss, muscle spasms, and stiffness, mobility limitations, neuropathic pain, and cognitive impairments, among others. Multiple sclerosis isn't something you want to live with. So, you know, look into that. If the shoe fits, at least warned from but I think it is something that people should pay attention to. But let's go ahead and move on. There's so many other things to talk about.
Yes.
I don't know what to get to. There was something actually. Did you have something specific or?
No, I'm just
Okay.
excited about somebody else running for president other than Doofus 1 and 2. It couldn't be Bernie. I take Cornel West. Yep, Cornel West is running for president. He announced this like 22 hours ago. So Cornel West says, I'm running for the truth and justice as a presidential candidate for the People's Party to reintroduce America to the best of itself. Fighting to end poverty, mass incarceration, ending wars, and I can never say this word, Siggy. Whatever.
Looking, I don't know.
Collapse. Guaranteed housing, health care, education, and living wages for all. He's interested in doing
Ecological.
ecological. Okay, that's too close for me. My tongue is not going to be doing that. So he's going to be running, and I love when he talks. Like when he makes so much sense. Although I don't agree with everything he says, I'm kind of proud to see somebody else stepping in. And we always say that Democratic and Republican parties shouldn't be the most dominant ones because they control everything. There is no Tea Party. There is no, what was the other one? Libertarian. All these other parties, but they're not in power. They don't make any moves. So it's nice to see somebody with that energy and that speaking power to bring some kind of shakeup to the city. To this country, period. So I look forward to it. There's not much about it right now. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And Sigourney, you said he's going to be on Fox News? Or he is on Fox News, right?
Yeah. On Twitter. All right.
So happy, joy.
Let's, I guess, get into some more local stuff real quick. Okay. This is from the Baltimore Banner. It's talking about more laws that were going into effect. You know, if the article wants to pop up. So this is from WYPR. Oh, whatever. It's in the Baltimore Banner. So several new laws go into effect Thursday in Maryland. 2 new laws go into effect Thursday in Maryland that the General Assembly passed in response to the end of Roe v. Wade. Now, this was done 6-1, so obviously it's talking about last Thursday. I think. No, last Thursday was the first. So, I guess it was talking about that day, or either it's talking about 2 days from now. I don't know. But, so both are intended to make Maryland a safe haven for those seeking abortions. Oh yeah, this was last Thursday because he already did this. Judges in other states cannot compel testimony from providers of abortion and related healthcare in Maryland about their patients, and those providers are now shielded from disciplinary or adverse action from regulators and insurers under SB 859 and HB 808. Montgomery County Senator Will Smith sponsored the Senate version and said the changes have a clear goal. This bill would protect providers and patients from administrative, civil, and criminal penalties for providing legally protected health care inside the state of Maryland. Smith, the chair of the Senate Judiciary Proceedings Committee, told WYPR. So folks that come into Maryland to seek that health care, it protects those providers and those patients seeking that health care. So that's it. But that is
that's interesting.
I think that's good news.
Look at that. Maryland is saving lives.
Yeah, so I think that's good news, and hopefully, Westmore will continue to do good things like that. Obviously it's important to protect people because we've been hearing so many stories about women who have had to carry basically like dead babies to term because they either live in like Texas or some crazy place that thinks it's okay for women to have to lose half their blood before it can be helped, if they're even helped at all. Some women are basically kind of left for dead in a sense because once they give birth to the dead baby, a lot of blood can come out of that, or through miscarriages or whatever. I mean, miscarriages are not abortions, but you know what I mean. Blood can still be lost there. But yeah. So I think it's important to protect not only the person who is trying to have the baby, but also the doctors and the nurses and everybody else who's involved on that end to because they've received death threats, especially doctors receiving death threats and stuff like that, and it's just not okay. Like, if you believe in something, fine, but you don't need to express your crazy views or push harm onto someone else just
right.
because they don't agree with you.
And that's the part that pisses me off, is that your beliefs shouldn't be my beliefs, and it's okay for us to coexist.
Well, I wouldn't use the word shouldn't, but it doesn't have to be. Like, our beliefs don't have to be the same. If they end up being the same, fine. But even then, because again, like I've said before, you and I agree on things, but
we have disagreements about things.
But not even that. Just the way we agree about certain things is different. Like, you have a different view about stuff than I do, and so even if we somewhat agree about the same thing, it's usually still not the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But there was also something else. I think we already talked about that. Did we talk about the citations? I don't know if we did or not.
I brought it up a few weeks ago, but I think now is when he's implementing it. Low-level nonviolent offenders that have received citations will be called to court. Because Mosby was the one that put a hold on it. She didn't want to prosecute anybody with low-level nonviolent cases.
Right.
Now this idiot wants to.
But he said they're going to be citations instead of
Criminal. Yeah, instead of criminal proceedings. So what's the point? You're wasting our money.
Yeah, so I guess, so from WMAR2 News Baltimore. Yeah, so the Baltimore State's Attorney's Office on Friday, when was this article is 4 days ago, went too far, launched a new way in which they will pursue some criminal cases. Starting June 12th, police will issue criminal citations rather than make arrests for quality of life crimes. For now, the initiative will only impact adults committing offenses such as panhandling, public urination, and dirt bike violations. It aims to get away from the practice of mass incarceration while maintaining accountability. Ultimately, the hope is that this approach will help to shift us away from the history of brutal criminalization that has been tied to the enforcement of low-level offenses while not letting these quality of life concerns go unaddressed, said Mayor Brandon Scott. Each citation given by a law enforcement officer will have an initial court arraignment day. The new policy will be implemented in a fashion similar to a 3-strike rule. During their initial court appearance, first and second time offenders will be offered community service and voluntary wraparound services. There are, however, some conditions to accepting the offer. Defendants have to complete their community service hours prior to their scheduled trial date, or else risk hundreds of dollars in fines and or jail time. Also, in order to be offered community service, the offender cannot be on probation, have an open warrant, or have pending charges for a crime of violence or handgun offense. The first citation docket will be held in Baltimore City District Courts the week of July 17th. This new initiative is about fundamentally changing attitudes and creating personal responsibility so minor offenses don't lead to more severe crimes, said State's Attorney Ivan Bates. Across our great city, residents have clamored for a return to accountability in Baltimore, and this initiative is the first step to getting us there. And then it says here's a list of low-level non-violent offenses that would warrant a citation over arrest and the potential penalties that come with it. So what is that? Dirt bike charges. Driving or riding a dirt bike in Baltimore City on public or private property of the city. Possessing an immobilized, which is not locked, dirt bike. Permitting another to drive or ride a dirt bike, or a parent guardian knowingly permitting a minor to drive, ride, or possess an unimmobilized dirt bike. So all of that is 90 days and or $1,000 fine. A minor in possession of alcohol, first time $100, second time 60 days and or $250 fine. False representation, whatever that means, the first offense is $100. So disorderly drinking, The second or subsequent offenses is $250 and or 60-day fines. Disorderly drinking, 90 days and or $1,000. Disorderly intoxication, 90 days and or $100. Drinking in public places, 30 days and or $1,000. Loitering, 10 days and or $500. Loitering liquor establishments, $500 fine. Aggressive panhandling, first time 30 days and or $100. Second time within a year, 250 and 90 days. Soliciting on highways, hacky. A hack. Anyway, $50. Maybe that's someone's name. I don't know. Anyway, hacking, 6 months and or $500 fine. Urinating in public, 30 days and or $1,000 fine. And it goes on for a little bit more.
Who sat down and came up with this? I really want to know.
I don't know, but there's actually only a couple more, so I'm gonna read them. Littering, 500. Littering shot us to be $1 million. Fail to obey reasonable lawful order, 60 days and or 500. Disorderly conduct, 60 days and or 500. Street vendors without a license, $250 fine. Theft under 100, 90 days and or $500 fine. Under $100 to, it should be okay, whatever. Under 100 to under 1,500 is 6 months and or $500 fine. Trespass, posted property, 90 days and or $500 fine. Private property, 90 days and or $500 fine. Malicious destruction, 60 days, and it says under 1,000, 60 days and or $500 fine. CDS possession, 1 year and or $5,000 fine. And PWID, marijuana, 3 years and or $5,000 fine. And that's with intent to distribute. What's the P stand for? Something with intent to distribute. Possession. There you go. Of marijuana. So 3 years, which I don't understand because it's about to be legal.
Right.
So whatever.
And this is what I don't understand. They talking about loitering and all these other things in private and public properties, right?
The loitering is just
in private property.
It just says loitering.
Okay.
Oh, and then it says liquor. The next one's liquor.
Okay. So police officers loiter at 7-Eleven, gas stations. They sit there all day, all night, not doing a goddamn thing. Yeah. So who's to say we can't, as citizens, that's being held to a high standard, can't hold these police officers to a high standard? We've been there, done that. You're tagging people as nuisances, as somebody that has a 3 strike and you're out kind of thing. Those things don't work. They never have. But what you're doing is you're targeting this person. Who's to say that just because a police officer had an interaction, like let's say they had an interaction with me, and I'm going to say some stuff like, what the hell are you stopping me for, or whatever, and they hand me a ticket. I go to court, first strike. What is it that cop, what makes you think this cop is not going to target me because of how I acted towards them? It's going to be a targeted situation. There's going to be strikes. It's just going to be a whole mess. It happened before. Maybe not in Baltimore City, but Montgomery County had something like this.
I mean, it is what it is. They're already doing this stuff. They're just, doing it with now low-level offense.
Ivan Bates need to go back to the drawing board with this bull crap. It is not a good idea. It's not. I told
what do you suggest instead?
No, I'm not suggesting anything, but
that's why I'm asking.
But this is my thing. The 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing, the way it's written, the way it's coming off to me as a citizen, if I was wearing a different hat, maybe something.
Sorry, we gotta stop. We gotta go to break. Sorry.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
Bored with the traditional wedding, birthday, or special occasion celebrations? Do you feel like you just don't want all of the pressure of coordinating your own event? Do your friends all seem to become professional event planners for your memorable moments? Are you thinking of getting engaged and want a romantic way of doing it? Let us design it for you. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Let our photographers help you to make a statement. Want to make an impression with a beautiful arrangement? Speak with our floral designers. Zeal Enterprises, an all-inclusive event management company that provides complete consulting and coordinating services for weddings, anniversaries, reunions, theme and birthday parties, festivals, conventions, and conferences. Our team of professionals are excited to work with you. Call today, 866-494-5945, or go online to www.zealbnr.com to begin designing your event. Remember, in everything you do, do it with zeal.
Hey, I'm Jenny James for Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner. You've probably been home a lot more. Maybe you have kids like me who spill all the time, and you've noticed that your carpet's not looking so good. Why don't you call Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner? They use a dry extraction service, so you won't have wet carpet all day long, and you can get back to doing the things you love with your family immediately. And it's a way to make your room healthier while improving your indoor air quality. You can do tile, slate, granite, ceramic, area rugs, and yes, they're pet friendly too. Why don't you get a free, no obligation estimate today? NeatlyDoneSanAntonio.com.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
All right. So go ahead. You were still talking, Moran.
I forgot what I was talking about. As far as the dirt bike is concerned, you know how I feel about the dirt bikes. They annoy
Okay, so anyway, to bring context, because Moran will just keep going, we were discussing all this stuff during the break. And so we were talking about the fines, or the penalties, I should say, and some of our issues with that. And so we were talking about how it is kind of crazy, 90 days or $1,000 for the dirt bike.
Yeah, and as much as I don't like the dirt bikes, just the way the kids ride the dirt bikes, they should have had an area. The city should have had an area in Druid Hill.
Didn't they try not too long ago? I thought they said something. Yeah,
they have something in the county. They don't have anything in the city.
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids are not going to cross over to the county to do anything other than, mischief. But like Druid Hill Park, you guys drained half the lake to do parking. Right? It's a puddle now. It's not even a lake anymore. But you guys have done all of this, and it annoys me. I know when I was there, it was just every day, every night. It was the bikes, and then they'll cut through cars that are trying to get to wherever they're getting. It's a red light. I'm going to cut them off. So
yeah, that intersection that used to be by where you lived. Yeah, they just would drive through.
Yeah.
Well,
so my thing is, okay, the penalties as far as putting them in jail for 90 days or $100 fine or whatever. I'm just confused. This has happened before as far as trying to hold people accountable, trying to catch them early before things get worse. When you catch them early, you throw them in jail, and you've forgotten about a lot of kids that you threw in jail. Like the guy that went in jail never have a criminal charge. He wasn't seen by the commissioner. He didn't have nothing. Yeah. They lost him for 6 years. They found him in Jessup. He was supposed to be on Edgar Street. They lost him for 6 years. He was found in Jessup. Didn't have any charge against him. He didn't see a commissioner to get a bail review. Nothing. This is where I have a problem.
Right.
This is why I say, who did you sit with and come up with this plan with? Because to me, Ivan Bate looks like the kind of guy that's looking 10 years, 20 years back. What were they doing then? What was Kirk Smoke doing back then?
Well, I mean, Brandon, too, this curfew thing. I mean, I'd like to see how this, that past weekend went. Mm-hmm. But that would have been the second one. But, yeah, I mean, it's been tried before.
Yeah.
And then you guys, and I don't ever usually keep up with it to kind of know how it goes before, but you guys tried this stuff before, and then it stops, and then things just go back to the way it was. So either keep a curfew for a while to kind of get some kind of like balance or structure, whatever, going, like a
continuity kind of thing, yeah,
and then go from there. Because I mean, the sad reality is there's a lot of young kids on the street that just don't need to be on the street.
True.
And And I don't understand why. I mean, I guess I understand why, but 15 to 16-year-olds don't need to be out at 11, 12 at night.
Yes.
Like, to me, that's still wild. I know I'm not that old, but, like when I was younger, 15 to 16-year-olds, like 10 o'clock, I guess. I mean, I didn't go out much, so it didn't really matter. But for the people who did, there's just no business for a teenager that late at night.
I'm going to stay out of that
There's
one.
nothing that they need to be out there for. There's just not. Unless they're working at McDonald's and they close or whatever at 11 and you are going home, there's no reason for you to be out that late.
I understand that.
Again, unless it's like a basketball game, like something constructive. But when you're just out there on the street, there's no reason for that. There's just not.
As a person that grew up in D.C. and did not bring my tail home because I didn't have any structure. Like, there was nobody telling me to be home. And that's where I see with these kids is nobody is giving them any structure. But what I want is the police are not respected. City government is not respected by these kids because what have you done to show us that you want us to do better? The schools are crap. Books are old and outdated. The computers are from 20 years ago. But yet you expect us. They don't even count. What was it that you told us last week? They were doing the how many kids were in school. They were trying to track, and they found out that how many kids were called present, but they were either dead, incarcerated, whatever it was.
Yeah, that was months ago.
Oh, okay. So there is no structure for you, but you want to put structure on me.
I mean, and that's how it goes. And then once people understand politics and how that runs, you start to understand why certain things happen, and usually all leads back to money, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna care only so much, you know what I mean? And then this article here from Fox 45, talks about Baltimore dealing with a double crisis. Youth crime and chronically absent students. And so with juvenile crime soaring in Baltimore City, council members are calling for a hearing to address what could be part of the problem: students not in school. The number of chronically absent students has become a city crisis, but that's not it, not everything. So causation or correlation, not really sure, said Nick Mosby in a recent court hearing. Juvenile crime and chronic absenteeism are two major problems in Baltimore, and the city council wants to know if one is driving the other. And I would think yes.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you should look at when most crimes are being committed. If they're mostly at night, then no, school has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Because they're not in school at night anyway. But what are they doing? Well, some of them were trying to earn some money being squeegee boys, but you see how that turned out. But that's the point of the hearing, to really try to understand and know, one, where are we with the numbers? Two, where we come from? And three, what are the things that we can do to ensure that we are getting to our young children before they get to some of these unproductive acts, Mosby told 45. So council members are calling for a hearing with school leaders to address the soaring number of students considered chronically absent, which could help explain why juvenile crime is also on the rise. Okay. So, but part of that too is talking to the kids. Because my thing is, some kids, especially if they're 15, 16, could be just working because for whatever reason the parent can't, or they're already working enough and not bringing in enough, so the kid dropped out, blah, blah, blah. I know a lot of clients that we work with in my section of PRP, some of them only went to, as far as the 9th, 11th grade, Some went past that, have some college credits, but still didn't, weren't able to finish and whatever. But that doesn't help this case.
But no, I was getting ready to say the same exact thing. You guys want to have meetings with the Board of Education, this, that, and the third, but they're the problem. They're the black hole of all the funding. The school funding goes into the Board of Education and never comes out.
So listen to this, though.
And I'm talking about Santa Lisa's.
So far in 2023, as of Friday, and this is May 30th, so 5 juveniles between the ages of 10 and 17 have been arrested in connection with homicide. As of May 24th, there have been 14 people murdered in Baltimore who are 18 years old or younger. At that same point last year, the number was 11.
And what is the number now?
14. 23% of city students were chronically absent. Fast forward to 2022. Oh wait, so it's 2016. It was 23%. Fast forward to 2022, it's 58%. So it's more than double. Baltimore City students were chronically absent, which was the highest level in the state. For the first time in the last 2 decades, more students were chronically absent than were not. City officials say they are trying to counter the crime with a new plan to enforce the youth curfew for anyone under 17. The plan, unveiled last week, is called Be More this summer. City leaders say while police help enforce the curfew, civilian youth engagement workers will be on hand to take kids to youth centers. Yeah, all the stuff we know. And parents again are faced with fines up to $500 if the children violate curfew 3 times by the end of August.
And
so, in a very slight way, that puts accountability on the parent, but
what if there
some
is no
parents
parent?
don't care,
Right?
Well, guardian, whoever, but yeah. So comparing this year to last year, between 9 p.m. and midnight, we saw a 100+% increase in youth homicide, shooting, and acts of violence, said Shantae Jackson, outgoing director of the Fonzie or whatever. But for the same, the connection between absent students and juvenile crime doesn't come as a surprise. Some of the students not educated now some of the students will be attending funerals for later on, said Dr. Tyrone Powers, a former FBI agent, told Project Baltimore in February 2021. Powers spent 14 years in local and federal law enforcement. He predicted the spike in crime back in 2021 after COVID shut down schools. And it goes on. But,
And this is my whole thing is that
can you hold the thought?
Sure.
We gotta go to break.
No
Sorry,
worries.
minute over.
No worries.
All right, we'll be right back.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
Hey, I'm Jenny James for Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner. You've probably been home a lot more. Maybe you have kids like me who spill all the time, and you've noticed that your carpet's not looking so good. Why don't you call Neatly Done Carpet Cleaner? They use a dry extraction service, so you won't have wet carpet all day long, and you can get back to doing the things you love with your family immediately. And it's a way to make your room healthier while improving your indoor air quality. You can do tile, slate, granite, ceramic, area rugs, and yes, they're pet friendly too. Why don't you get a free, no obligation estimate today? NeatlyDoneSanAntonio.com.
Beauty's in the eye. We complicate things when all along it's just perfect as it is. Beauty is from within. It's how you feel, not as how others see you. Skincare shouldn't be complicated. She's the Boss believes skincare should be nurturing, easy to use, smell delicious, feel refreshing, and look incredible. She's the Boss Cosmetics and Skincare brings you our botanical-based skincare line that's gentle, uncomplicated, and extremely effective for men, women, and youth. Feel confident and radiate a power glow that flows from the inside out. Exude an assurance that extends from the home into the conference room. Visit us at www.shes-the-boss.com or call us at 866-494-5945 to get yours today.
We don't break the laws. We just make up our own. The internet's best choice for music. She's the boss. Radio Network.
So this is, I'm constantly going to say this, and I'm trying not to, but this whole process of having policies and all of that is concerned, having these meetings, that's great. Everybody needs to have a plan. But when the plan is is pertaining to certain groups of people, that group of people needs to be represented. And you have Board of Education, DJS, all these people coming together, making decisions for youth. These are the same people that have neglected the youth, have totally abandoned them. So why are they allowed to make decisions when you haven't done jack in decades for these kids? These kids you neglected back in the 90s, they're parents to the kids that you're now are afraid of now. So if you don't include people instead of saying punishment is the only way. That's never a good thing.
Yeah, and so I mean, they try non-punishable ways. I mean, they try to do these meetings and include people like with the squeegee boys and stuff like that. But so Powers did go on to say that the former FBI agent, for those I forgot already, he said if the school system cannot find students who are supposed to be in the school during the day, then the criminal justice system is probably going to be somehow linked to finding those students either before they commit a crime or immediately afterwards. So Project Baltimore's Chris Pabst said, "You're saying that local law enforcement agencies in the city have to plan for a possible increase in crime before the virtual learning and students dropping out or failing?" And he said, absolutely. Unless you get that education piece right, unless all of the other entities, all of the other agencies work with the CEO to get those education things right, all of them are going to be dealing with a virus of another sort.
And he's right. And the CEO has done jack all.
Yeah, someone's like, I don't know how you come up with a government system that deals with 58% absenteeism. If a few students are absent, you can find them and work with their individual situation. And that's true. The more that there are, the harder it is. But yeah, this is kind of where I always go to.
Yeah.
Someone said, no, I didn't say it yet. Someone said problem issues starting at the top. 1 parents, 2 parents, 3 parents. And that's where I always go to. Because most of the time, that's where it has to start. You're the one, that's your kid. Like, you're responsible for him. So it has to start there. And if that's not a problem, then you figure out what is. And you got to keep everybody involved.
As a parent, I get pissed off when people keep pointing a finger at the parent.
All the time.
Oh yeah, you do it all the time. I just don't pay it any attention. But see, you're also a different parent. I'm not talking about no. I'm not saying you're talking about me. I'm not taking it personally. But based on what we've been doing as far as our professional is concerned, the parents are not wrapped too tight. The parents need some form of evaluation. I think you should take an exam, an SAT exam, before you give birth. But that's just me.
Okay, so
yeah, I'm going. I'm going to go left with it if it comes to that. But the people that we're dealing with right now that have kids that are not in school, that are allowing kids to sit on the porch all day, all night long, and think they're their kids' best friends versus their actual parents, and giving them lines like, this is as far as you go. Don't go any further. We don't have that.
I think, again, it starts with education early.
Right.
And I'm going to say that. And a lot of Republicans don't want to, because as you were talking, I was thinking something about some of the clients that we have. A lot of them are parents. And this one client in particular, she has adult children, but she expects them to basically take care of her because she's like, well, I took care of them when they were younger. But it's like, okay,
barely.
First of all, they should get a life first. Like, you're not even that old that they should be taking care of you like that. Like, you are able to function and work and all that stuff, but you choose not to. Mm-hmm. You choose to hold a job for a couple of months, quit it, claim some excuse, and want to go back because you're broke, and your kids don't want to pay because they're like, one's trying to move out, or I think the kid did move out. They're trying to live their own life. Yeah. They're young, in their young 20s, early 20s. So it's like, why do you expect them at that age barely making it themselves? Mm-hmm. And one's got kids, or at least a kid. So it's like, no, like, you should be able to take care of yourself. You're in your 40s, dude. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's it's always baffled me because you weren't even that great.
No medical issues. Like, no, but like you got a broken back or something.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you don't have boundaries with your kids. That's why I said you want to be your kid's best friend. But then when your kids leave out the house and you don't hear where they're going, how long they're going to be, I'm the parent that want to know who, when, what, where, and what time. Yeah. But you can't be your kid's best friend and be the moderator of their life.
Right.
You can't. I am not, like, I still think, Ivan Bates, we invite you to come on. Let's have this conversation, a civil conversation. I promise you, it will be civil. But I think you are dead wrong. You keep going back to the drawing board. Come up with a different plan. Be original. Come up with an original plan that could possibly make a difference. You can use parts of the old plan, but don't bring the old plan as a whole out and say, oops, I came up with an idea.
Yeah, you can just use the structure. Well, not even the structure, but just like the basic concept, but then mold it to
modify it.
Because again, like as time goes on, like you wouldn't bring a plan from the 50s here. First of all, the kids are different. I think they're less respectful now.
Sure.
I mean, there's that. But, so you got to deal with all that attitude and stuff. And then technology. So take their phone. Apparently, you're going to get pepper sprayed in the face like that one school. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, some girl got upset the teacher took her phone, so she pepper sprayed him. But
she would have got it.
Yeah. I think they were both being extra, but you don't pepper spray people. Like, no, you don't do that.
Teachers don't get paid enough.
Yeah, I mean, he should have just been like, here, take your stupid phone. Just get out of my classroom. That's what he should have done.
I'd have been like,
go sit in the hall somewhere.
Yeah.
Or go home. I don't even care. Just get out of my classroom.
Right.
Like, you don't care. Why should I? And that's sad because I know a lot of, and as a social worker, I feel like that sometimes. I know a lot of teachers and nurses feel like that. Because ultimately, people are going to do what they want to do at the end of the day. And so that's another piece that we also don't talk about is how much help is too much. Yeah. Like, we have people who have been getting help for so long but have made no changes because they choose not to.
Yeah.
They get all the resources from their PRP worker, all the therapy and help and the coping skills from their therapist, and they still go out there and make dumb decisions. Mm-hmm. So either there's a missing piece somewhere, which is very possible, or they just don't care, which is also possible. But one thing before we go that I want to tell Marylanders is that the state has decided, or someone decided, that, and this is from Maryland Matters, that the gas will go up 47 cents per gallon in July. Now, for those like me who don't do math quick in their head, you're probably like, oh my God, 47 cents. That is so much. I'm going to be paying $100. It's not. It's a couple bucks, but still. It's devastating when you don't even have a couple bucks to put in your gas tank. But yeah, so the state rate of the gas will increase 47, an increase of more than 10% compared to the current rate. Over the last 2 years, the rate has increased by 30% due to inflation and surging fuel prices. So, revenue generated by the tax goes into a dedicated fund used to pay for statewide roads and highway projects. Yeah, okay. Democrats have warned of a coming reckoning as changing driving habits will likely render the trust fund and the gas tax less effective as paying for projects. Sure, why not? Just another reason to find money somewhere else.
Yeah, which they have.
Yeah. Additionally, Westmore in March announced Maryland will require all new car sales in the state to be electric vehicles by 2035. A spokesperson for more did not immediately comment on the tax increase, and blah 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 blah. It goes into other stuff, but so just be warned. And also, there's apparently a shortage of cancer drugs, and doctors and patients are worried. So if you have cancer, fight your way to the drugs. If you have to beat out someone else, only the strong survive.
If you don't go to another country that has free health care.
Yeah, I mean Europe, Mexico, Canada, anywhere but the U.S. apparently. But on that note, we have to end this show. Thanks for listening to Thanks for listening to the Horrible Rhetoric on She's a Boss Radio. If you want to listen to this show, or other shows that we have, or other shows that are on the network, you can go to she'sabossradio.com. You can always listen in on tunein.com or Shoutcast. Tell Alexa or Siri to play She's a Boss Radio. Follow She's a Boss Radio on Facebook, She's a Boss Radio on Twitter, WSTBRN on IG, and WSTBR on Twitch and Tumblr. Good for you if you caught all of that. Deplorable Rhetoric on Facebook, Deplorable_Rhetoric on Instagram, and we rant to rave, the number 2 on Instagram. Talk at y'all later. Bye.
You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? You could listen to one of those other stations, but what would your friends think? She's the Boss Radio Network.